instructor and TASER instructor. Officer Anderson has also participated in the uniform committee and on the training committee. Officer Anderson has received several unit citations during his time with the city, as well as a life-saving award. Brandon and his wife Tiffany have 2 children, Jameson and Lily. Outside of work, Brandon enjoys spending time outside and camping. Congratulations, Officer Anderson, and thank you for 10 years of service. We will now honor 15 years of service. Matt Berger, if you please come forward. Matt Berger is being recognized for 15 years of municipal service. Matt began his law enforcement career as a police officer with the Bonner Springs Police Department in May 2004. He was hired by the City of Shawnee in August 2005 and is currently a police sergeant assigned to the Patrol Division. Matt has served on the Smart Policing Committee and is a current member of the Bob Committee. Sergeant Berger holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Washburn University, a master's of business administration from Baker University. Sergeant Berger has received the Employee of the Month honor on 2 occasions, as well as Employee of the Quarter. He and his wife Marie have 3 children, Michael, Madeline, and Grace. In his spare time, he likes to play golf. Thank you, Sergeant Berger, for 15 years of dedicated service. Captain Sean Miller. Captain Sean Miller is celebrating 15 years of service. During his tenure with the city, Captain Miller has been assigned to patrol, special investigations, and technical service and communications. He is currently a Special Operations Bureau Captain and is a former member of the Bob Committee. Captain Miller has been awarded the Medal of Valor and has received the Gold Award for Police Service. He is also a recipient of 4 unit citations and has been selected as the Support Services Employee of the Month on 3 occasions. Captain Miller earned a criminal justice degree from Washburn University. In his spare time, he enjoys camping, wakeboarding, and coaching baseball. Sean and his wife, Kimberly, have 2 sons, Nicholas and Matthew. Congratulations, Sean, on 15 years of service.
Okay, next we'll move on to 20 years of service. Mel Bunting is celebrating 20 years of municipal service. Mel was hired in April of 1999 as the network administrator and was promoted in December of 2006 to manager of network and systems. In May of 2012, Mel was promoted to his current position of information technology director. He holds a degree in public administration and is a graduate of the Shawnee Tomorrow Leadership Program. Mel served on the New Justice Center and Fire Station 72 planning committees and was responsible for the detailed planning of the technology infrastructure at the new facilities. Mel is a participant of the Neighbors Helping Neighbors program, as well as Rebuilding Together Shawnee. Mel volunteers with the Sunflower House in Shawnee and was the recipient of their Lionheart Volunteer Service Award in support of the Sunflower House's mission. Mel and his wife Tricia have 2 children, Corey and Jenna, and are proud grandparents. In his free time, Mel enjoys biking, water and snow skiing, and bowling. He even bowled a perfect game. Thank you, Mel, for 20 years of service.
Kenny Kongmoley. Kenny Kongmoley is celebrating 20 years of city service. Kenny was originally hired in September of 1999 as an engineering inspector, focusing on private development. Since that time, Kenny has filled many additional roles here at the city, including Engineering Technician 3, assigned to streets and right-of-way. From 2015 through 2016, Kenny worked for the city of Prairie Village and returned to his current role at Shawnee as the street program manager. Kenny has been a member of the Safety Committee and the Impact Committee here at the city, as well as the American Public Works Association's Utility Protection and the Right-of-Way Committee. Kenny has also earned NYSET Level 1 certifications in highway construction, erosion control, asphalt, concrete, and soils. In his spare time, Kenny enjoys spending time outdoors, hunting and fishing, as well as spending time with his son, David. Thank you for your 20 years of service to the city.
Okay, next up is Captain Steve Walsh, who's also being recognized for 20 years of service. During his tenure with the city, Captain Walsh has been assigned to patrol, traffic safety, motorcycle officer, patrol sergeant, traffic sergeant, and is currently captain over the Investigations Bureau. Steve has also served on a number of committees, including Impact Committee, Bob Committee, Operation Impact, the Police Department Honor Guard, and is a field training officer. Steve has received a number of awards throughout his career, including an Award of Merit, Unit Citations, Recognition for Service Award, Life Saving Award, and won first place in the Digital Ally Challenge Ryan Team Motorcycle Competition. Steve and his wife Shanda have 2 children, Ryan and Kobe, and they enjoy spending their time fishing and riding motorcycles at the Lake of the Ozarks. Thank you, Steve, for 20 years of service.
Next up is Cam Johnson. Cam is celebrating 20 years of municipal service. Cam began his firefighting career in 1998 with Johnson County Fire District No. 2 and began working for the City of Shawnee in 2017. Cam has also been a volunteer firefighter for the City of Paola, Kansas since 1998. He is currently a part of the investigations team as a shift investigator, a member of the Wildland Task Force, and a driver-operator. Cam was recently designated as an expert witness for courtroom proceedings pertaining to fire scene investigations. He has obtained his red card certificate through Wildland Firefighting, as well as his National Driver Operator certification. Cam has 2 daughters, Conley and Marin, and he loves nothing more than spending time with them and getting to act like a big kid. Congratulations, Cam, and thank you for your 20 years of service.
Okay, next is 25 years of service, and next up is Tanya LeCure. She's celebrating 25 years of service tonight. She began her career in 1994 with Johnson County Parks and Recreation District. Tanya joined the City of Shawnee in 1999 as the Deputy Parks and Recreation Director, a position that she continues to hold today. Tanya earned her bachelor's degree in Parks, Recreation, and Tourism from the University of Missouri and is a graduate of the Shawnee Tomorrow Leadership. She is also a certified park and recreation professional and a certified aquatics facility operator. Tanya has served on the COOP Development Team, Shawnee Sesquicentennial Committee, Veterans Day Committee, Open House Committee, and the Communications Committee. Tanya was recognized most recently by being presented with the Good Starts Here Award in 2019. Tanya has formerly been recognized as Employee of the Quarter, the Irish Person of the Year, and served on the Kansas Recreation and Park Association Board of Directors from 2006 to 2009. Tanya and her husband Paul have 2 children, Drew and Nick. Thank you, Tanya, for 25 years of service.
Next up is Sergeant Thomas J. Lynch. He's celebrating 25 years of service. Sergeant Lynch began his public service career in 1994 as a patrol officer with the City of Merriam. Tom was hired by the City of Shawnee in August 1997. During his tenure with Shawnee, Sergeant Lynch has been a patrol officer, dare officer, and has been the sergeant assigned to both investigations and patrol. Sergeant Lynch has served on the Bob Committee and is currently serving on the Police Department Honor Guard, the STAR Team, Negotiations, Crisis Intervention Training, and Peer Support. Tom is a graduate of St. Mary's College. Tom and his wife Erin have 2 children, Jack and Bridget, and will gain a son-in-law, McKinnon, in just a few months. Tom has plans to retire on April 1st and is looking forward to catching up on some reading in his spare time. Congratulations on 25 years of service.
Okay, next up is Maurice Lorden, also known as Mo. Being recognized for 25 years of service. After serving in the U.S. Air Force from 1989 to 1996, Officer Lorden began his law enforcement career as a reserve police officer for the city of Pittsburg, Kansas. He then worked for Parsons, Kansas as a police officer for 5 years before being hired by the City of Shawnee in 1999. Officer Lorden currently serves as a school resource officer and has formerly served as a police officer, warrant officer, and an assistant team leader for the Crisis Negotiations negotiation team, a member of the STAR team, and on the Bob Committee. Officer Lordan was recently recognized as a national practitioner for the National Association of School Resource Officers. Mo has also been awarded Police Officer of the Month, Support Service Officer of the Month, the Award of Merit, Unit Citations, a Certificate of Distinguished Service, and has a Level 3 hostage negotiator. Maurice and his wife Pam have two sons, Maurice and Jaden, and future daughter-in-law Margaret. Also in attendance tonight are Maurice's parents, Mari and Diane. Officer Lordan holds several national coaching licenses, and in his free time, you can usually find him coaching on the soccer fields. Thank you, Mo, for 25 years.
Next up is Darren Nelson. Darren began his career with the City of Shawnee as a volunteer firefighter in November of 1993 and is being recognized for 25 years of municipal service. He was hired as a full-time firefighter in April of 1996. Darren became an acting captain in 2002 and was promoted to the rank of captain in 2012. Darren was promoted to his current role of battalion chief in 2016. He has served on numerous committees, including the Firefighter Hiring Committee, the Apparatus Committee, the New Truck Purchasing Committee, the Technical Rescue Committee, Special Operations Team, and Respiratory Protection Program. He is also a member of the Fire Department Honor Guard. Darren and his wife, Jennifer, live in Shawnee with their 3 children, Maddie, Kenzie, and Zach. Congratulations, Chief Nelson, on 25 years of service.
Okay, next we'll be celebrating Duffy Milberger, who is recognized for 30 years of municipal service. As the most tenured city employee in the fire department, Duffy is a well-respected department leader. He began his career with the fire department in 1989 as a volunteer firefighter. He was hired in November of 1991 as a full-time firefighter, which is the capacity he continues to serve today. Firefighter Milberger has been a member of the Technical Rescue Team, the Apparatus Design and Build Team, and coordinates the department's fleet maintenance for all apparatus. Duffy earned the distinct honor of Firefighter of the Year in 1990 and again in 2013. Duffy has 3 children, Morgan, DJ, and Landon. Congratulations on 30 years of service.
And last but not least, we have Chief John Maddox, 40 years of service. Tonight, John Maddox is being recognized for 40 years of distinguished service. Chief Maddox began his career in fire service as a volunteer for the Edwardsville, Kansas Fire Department in 1979 and was hired there full-time in 1983. He was promoted to rank of captain in 1987 and then assistant fire chief in 2000. He joined the Shawnee Fire Department in 2001 as the fire marshal. And in 2007, his duties expanded to include those of deputy fire chief. John was promoted to fire chief in 2011. He received his chief fire officer credentials in 2015 from the Commission of Professional Credentialing. Under Chief Maddox's leadership, the fire department became internationally accredited by the Commission on Fire Accreditation. He received his bachelor's degree from Mid-American Nazarene University in 2007 and his certified public manager designation in 2011, along with numerous fire and emergency service certifications. In 2006, John was awarded the Fire Officer of the Year for the Shawnee Fire Department, and from 2002 to 2010, he was appointed to the Kansas Fire Service Training Commission. John has been married to wife Tracy for 36 years. After high school, Chief Maddox started school to become a funeral director, but quickly decided that medical school was not in the cards for him. We are glad that you ultimately chose firefighting as your career and congratulate you on 40 years of service. If we could please have all of the service award recipients meet in the lobby for a picture. He can do it from here.
Hey, Liz.
No, we just have to make sure. Yep.
The next item is business from the floor. Is there anyone who has comments on an issue that is not on tonight's agenda? Please come. Oh, you don't have your hand up? Okay. Seeing none? The next. Next item on the agenda is public items. Item number 1 is to consider resolution number 1895, providing notice of a public hearing to consider adoption of a tax increment financing project plan for Stagg Spring, generally located at Roger Road and Neiman Road. On November 4th, 2019, the Planning Commission voted 7-0, finding the TIF project plan is consistent with the comprehensive plan. A resolution is required to provide notice of the required public hearing on December 23rd, 2019. Recommended action is consider adopting resolution number 1895. Is there any discussion from the council? Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak to this item? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Ray Ehrlichman, 7510 Garnett Street. I'm fully aware that the item on the agenda is to set a public hearing and not to discuss the merits of the project. So I don't have to be reminded about that. A public hearing on any of these projects usually winds up with a vote of the council one way or the other after the public hearing. To schedule a public hearing on December 23rd, I will try and be polite. That's outrageous. That's an insult to the people of Shawnee. That's 2 days before Christmas. People in Shawnee will be out of town. They will be entertaining visitors from in town or from out of town visitors coming in. 2 days before Christmas. Not a time to be holding a public hearing. Especially since there, as I said, usually a vote afterwards, one way or the other. 2 years ago, in December of 2017, a similar situation came up where I had requested that the council consider tabling a meeting until January when the new council was formed, because that's what we're going to have, is a new council in January. And that was regarding the project, which is actually on the next item on the agenda. And the two comments that usually come up when these things happen is, number one, well, the new council won't have time to get up to date and up to snuff. Malarkey. Between now and January, the new council members would have plenty of time to study the documentation, the various previous presentations, and staff could even have a mini meeting to bring them up to date on everything else. And the second reason for some of these rush to judgment meetings is, well, the developer's got to move on this real quick. Otherwise, this won't happen, that won't happen, the financing won't happen, and all that. So let's look at history. Let's talk about Belmont Promenade. We rushed to judgment on that, and where are we with it now? Let's talk about the Aztec Theater. Where are we with that right now? It's on its way, but still hasn't been completed. And yes, the next item on the agenda was also rushed to judgment using those same two reasons. And then we wound up with an extension. And now what's coming up for them is going to be a total revision. Not minor revisions, but a total revision. I would strongly recommend, and I would urge this council, in all fairness to the people of the city of Shawnee, that this item be tabled and that a public hearing be scheduled sometime after the new council is empowered. Because whichever way they vote, whether it's for it or against it, is immaterial at this point. What is important is that they would be held accountable. We're losing 3 members of this council that are not returning. If you vote to continue to have that public hearing on the 23rd of December, you are not being ombudsman for the city of Shawnee, and I've heard many of you use that term. It's a slap in the face to the people to have that kind of a public hearing on December 23rd. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience like to speak to this item? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Watch out, they'll charge you for about another 5 minutes from you.
Oh, okay. Tina Webb from 6110 Roger Drive, and I think a couple of you already know what I feel about this whole project. But like he said, we're here to let you guys know December 23rd is not a proper date because it's a holiday week. And a lot of people are going to be out of town or entertaining. I know I'm supposed to be entertaining two brothers and an aunt's birthday on that day, so I won't be able to get there. So I would appreciate it, along with everybody else that I've talked to in our neighborhood on Roger Drive, to please table this after the first of the year when we can make it, so that you can hear our side of the story. Because the decisions you guys are making, you're not thinking logically. It's that simple. And you gotta hear our voice. All of us, not just a handful of us. That's all I've got to say. And I agree. Everything he says.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else from the audience that would like to speak to this item? Seeing, oh, sorry, Mr. Jenkins? Oh, go ahead. Nobody raised their hand, so.
Okay. Well, I'd like to go on record as strongly concurring with the comments we just heard from two of our citizens. To schedule an important date on the 23rd of December just seems really out of whack to me. It just kind of off the charts wrong. In fact, I would like to have come here tonight and suggested that we cancel the meeting on the 23rd so the staff and everybody doesn't show up on the night before Christmas Eve. It just seems like a really inappropriate time. I want to hear the folks. I want to hear what they have to say. And I think that really disenfranchises the people when they don't, I mean, they got obligations too. They got family and they got jobs, they got other things to do. And the schedule on that date is just so inappropriate. And I just can't agree with that at all. I also appreciate the comments of it wouldn't be bad to even have the new council people that are coming on board face this issue because, as we know, some of the things involved with this tax incremental financing project is 20 years. I mean, we're going to live with those obligations for the next 20 years, actually, on this one and the next one being brought up. And I think it's appropriate that if the shoe fits wear it for the new folks coming in, they ought to be able to weigh in on this and give their 2 cents worth on how they feel with this as well. So like I said, I strongly concur with those comments. I absolutely think we have to move that date from the 23rd. If we have to postpone it to January, so be it.
Okay, any other comments from the council? Councilmember Larson Bonnell?
First, I have a question. I haven't seen this since I've been on the council, but is there a mechanism, assuming that this did move forward on the 23rd, is there a mechanism for people to send written comments in that could literally be read into the record during the comment period, during the public hearing?
No talking from the audience.
I'll defer to Alice in terms of the formal public hearing. Of course, any resident can email their council member or call them or set up a meeting to communicate their response if they so chose. So in terms of the formal public hearing, I'll kind of defer to Alice on what can actually be kind of read into the minutes per se.
So we as council members, though, could certainly receive anything we wanted to and read whatever we wanted to in the record. So I do want to have that out there as an option. The other option that I think that we have, and it hasn't come up yet, was actually moving the meeting up. I'm pretty sure that we have enough time that we could do the meeting earlier, because I agree the 23rd is very close to the holidays and there are a lot of people that would be, might not be able to participate. So is that an option? And if so, would something like the 17th work? I'm just throwing it out there.
I'll defer to the council on folks' availability. We could not move it up to the Monday, December 16th. I think Doug is here. I think there's a planning commission on the 16th, so it'd have to be on Tuesday, the 7th, or, could be on a Thursday or Friday, but if we kind of stuck with the Monday, Tuesday routine, we would look at Tuesday, December 17th would be the other option if you did not want to meet on the 23rd, but defer to the mayor and council's
Well, to
availability,
that
so.
Same point, history has also shown us that when we do special calls for developers, we are criticized for that because then it's not falling on a naturally occurring agenda, which would be the 23rd, and is less transparent because the residents are expecting the meetings to be the second and fourth Monday, and then if we throw an extra meeting in there, then they'll claim they didn't know the meeting was happening because it was a special call meeting versus a regular meeting, so we get criticized as well if we change the meeting date. Plus, we have 9 members of the governing body, staff, and the residents that have families, jobs, and everything that are planning on the second and fourth Monday, who then have to change plans to try to be here on an off day that's not on their calendar as expected. So we get criticism that way as well. Councilmember Zimmerman?
You actually responded to.
Oh.
Thank you. Mayor, to be clear on policy statement 7, if, no member of the public may read documents from another person into the record at a public meeting. But otherwise, policy statement 7 provides that written materials may be provided to the elected officials in the governing body in advance of a meeting, and they have every right as residents to provide written materials to their elected officials at any given time.
Is there any other discussion from the council? Okay, I will accept a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we postpone the public hearing from December 23rd to the first council meeting in January.
Second.
Can we do that? It does, because I know by public hearing stuff, there's certain dates and guidelines. Can we do that before I accept that motion?
It's right the direction of the body. I'll defer to
And what date is
council,
that?
so.
What, I'm sorry, I didn't have the next year's meetings in my calendar. What date is that exactly?
13th, I did.
This would be the second Monday, the January 13th.
January 13th.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tyler Ellsworth with QTAC Rock, the city's bond counsel. You can certainly change the date of the public hearing. In this case, if you'd like, we would modify the resolution that's before you this evening to reflect the date of the first council meeting in January.
Okay, but there's nothing within state statutes or anything that prohibits, okay,
No, that would be acceptable.
okay, thank you. Okay, so we have, oh, sorry.
Is there a
Councilmember Larson.
representative from, either developer here at this point that, is this really going to mess anything up? Is there somebody that, sorry, Nancy.
Can I just share one other thought, Mayor?
Yeah.
I would say in regards to holidays, if we're going to be thinking out a year in advance, this has been on the calendar, this particular date, since the beginning of the year when we put these in there. If we're going to start moving things because of holidays, then we need to look at Jewish holidays, look at really all of the holidays on the calendar, and we're not really even talking about the day or the day before, it's 2 days before. So I'm hesitant to do that because I think that could cause some challenges in planning throughout our year if we're having to avoid weeks in which there are holidays. Now, my family celebrates Christmas. I would like to be at home with my family that Monday, but also it just feels like a bit of a slippery slope. And again, with the transparency, we've had it on the calendar for the year. I feel really hesitant to change it at this point.
I did adjust my holiday plans for this meeting as well.
Yeah, so that's my thought.
No, please, not yet. We don't speak from the audience. Mr. Tubesing?
Thank you, Council. Kevin Tubesing, 5000 Haskin, Shawnee. So back in the spring, when we brought our timeline to the council, to the staff, we made it very imperative that we have to be approved by the end of the year. There's a financing issue, there's tax issues, there's a lot of issues associated with this. This is not a rush to judgment. We haven't, been pushing this just for the last couple weeks or months or whatever. This has been something that's been months and coming, well more than half a year. We're perfectly fine with as long as we have the 30-day gap between the different votes, we're perfectly fine with a special meeting on the 17th, 18th, and 19th. I think there's plenty of time to occur for public notice. The neighborhood, we certainly would, just as we notified the neighborhood on 2 different meeting occasions, we'll be happy to even pay for a neighborhood notification of that meeting. But we would ask that in 2019 that the council bring this to a vote so that we can, so we don't, number one, have our financing expire at the end of the year, which Central Bank of the Midwest has presented us, but is subject to the TIF vote. And that is something that has to occur in 2019. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from the audience like to come and make additional comment? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Ray Ehrlichman, 7510 Garnett Street. 2 things. Number one, regarding the statement by Councilmember Constance. It's not just so much that it's 2 days before a holiday. It's the fact that it's a week and a half, 2 weeks before a whole new council is sitting up where you folks are sitting. That is the primary reason why I've suggested why I did. The secondary reason is the fact that that's a tough week. And as Councilmember Jenkins pointed out, with the new council members, they would have an opportunity to be held accountable and responsible for what happens. So it's not just the holiday, Ms. Constance. As far as the developer's comment a moment ago, I don't have access to his conversations or his documentation with his financing sources, but I can say, and there are members on this council who remember, that we've heard similar comments from other developers regarding the same situation, and then the plans get dragged out anyway. And again, the next item coming up is one of those. And I mentioned Belmont Promenade also. So we've heard that before. It may be justified, it may be accurate, but it has been mentioned before with other projects, and it has turned around to be quite the opposite. So I just want to make sure that that was understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? State your name and address for the record.
Tina Webb at 6110 Roger Drive. And your comment about trying to get people on the computer and put in their remarks. Not everybody owns a computer. In fact, a lot of them don't even know about your meetings because they don't have access to this information. So if you are going to have this meeting, you need to notify people by mail. And I think he just said that he'd be happy to send out, mailing or whatever to get the residents out here. That would be better. Do it the old-fashioned way, especially the older folks. They don't own computers. So you are not communicating properly to the neighborhood when you do that and giving them a fair chance. So.
And I would just say that's exactly my point, because for however long, you've been here longer than me, Ellis, the meetings have always been the second and fourth Monday of every month, and I believe that's what we communicate in the city line, which is mailed in the mail quarterly, so everybody's expecting a meeting to be the second and fourth Monday of every month. So if we do a special call meeting, then they won't know when the meeting is happening, and I am bothered by that. Because this is when we're expecting them to be. So, without any further, I'm sorry, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Margot Seymour, I live at 7409 Stern Street. I think that we're focusing too far ahead on an event that's 2 days after. As a banker, I work the 24th and the 26th. Like you all have said, it's been on the calendar 6 months now, if not the whole year. And to reflect what Councilmember Constant says, then we need to be observing Ramadan, we need to be observing Hanukkah, we need to be observing everything in between. And especially talking about the financing as a banker, that is pertinent. You get that stuff in before end of year. I mean, like this could be crucial. Like this could literally break everything. People would lose their jobs. People would be behind on something. Contractors would switch and back out of contracts. So it's not just moving this meeting that should be thought about because it's almost Christmas that day, but what's the cause and effect that move would do? So it's just my perception as a young individual taking it all in.
Thank you. Mr. Jenkins?
Just one last comment. I'd like to redirect everybody to what we're looking at right now, and what we're looking at is setting a public hearing. The idea of a public hearing is to have the public come in and be exposed to the information from the developer and those people who are in opposition to the project and get everything out on the table. So we would want to have a date, therefore, which would maximize the amount of public participation, in my estimation, and that would not be December 23rd. And in follow-up to some of the other comments I've heard, didn't just last year, we canceled the meeting that was right before Christmas last year, and I believe we did the year before that, and yeah, those were on the calendar for a year too. So let me just redirect you to that. That's not uncommon. In fact, I would like to debate a motion tonight, and maybe still will if this meeting is moved, that we cancel the meeting for December 23rd, so that we don't have to drag our staff and everybody in here for a meeting that close to Christmas. So, but I, once again, redirect everybody to the fact this is a public hearing, and the idea is to maximize public involvement, and this does not do that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would you like to restate your motion?
My motion was that we postpone this meeting and reschedule it for the first meeting in January, which would be January 13th. Of the public hearing for resolution number 1895, if you want to get real specific.
Motion has been made and seconded on this item. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Councilmember Zimmerman?
Nay.
Councilmember Neighbor?
Nay.
Councilmember Jenkins?
Aye.
Councilmember Kemling?
Aye.
Councilmember Lisa Larson-Manel?
Nay.
Councilmember Sandifer?
Nay.
Councilmember Constance?
Nay.
Motion fails. So I will accept another motion.
Move to approve?
Second?
The motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion passes with Councilmembers Kimling and Jenkins voting in dissent. Item number 2 is to consider resolution number 1896, providing notice of a public hearing to consider the adoption of an amended tax increment financing TIF project plan for Westbrook Green, generally located at the northeast corner of West 75th Street and Quivira Road. On November 4th, 2019, the Planning Commission voted 7-0, finding the amended TIF project plan is consistent with the comprehensive plan. A resolution is required to provide notice of the required public hearing on December 9th, 2019. Recommended action is consider adopting resolution number 1896. Is there any discussion from the council? Mr. Kimling.
I have objections on this, similar to the last item where we have a brand-new council coming in, and I just don't see the need to rush or hurry this. We had this exact same project 2 years ago, ironically, right after an election, and we're told that we had to discuss it, had to vote, because it had to move forward. And then it's funny that 2 years later, here it is again, right after another election. So I would also be in favor of moving this one to that first meeting in January.
Any other, Councilmember Constance?
I just wanted to kind of share some questions that I had gotten from neighbors, not necessarily to address tonight since we're just scheduling, but just so that our developers here can make sure to provide that information to neighbors at the upcoming meeting. They were just really wanting a clear, specific outline of the changes, the before the 2017 compared to now. So just as an overview. Also, there were some concerns about the drive-throughs being on the plan and whether those would be all drive-throughs or just a couple of them. Some expressions of just wanting, a little more sit down, making sure it was a balance. A question regarding would there be garages to park, individual garages in addition to carports? Some of the neighbors are wanting to know about the fence and just making sure that that is still happening with the attractive side facing the neighbors when constructed. So just wanted to put those out there. I know many neighbors are planning to come to the meeting in November, so.
Thank you. I shared similar comments with them, so thank you. Any other discussion from the council? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Okay.
Motion passes with Councilmember Jenkins and Kimling in dissent. Item number 3 is to consider contract number 2019-091, excise tax abatement agreement with Michael L. Carter Trust for the Underwood Farm subdivision plat located at 7800 block of Woodland Drive. Pursuant to policy, Michael L. Carter Trust has formally requested consideration for the conditional abatement of an excise tax on Underwood Farm subdivision plat, a 5.2 acre lot, single-family residential subdivision located in the 7800 block of Woodland Drive. Recommended action is consider approving and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract as approved by the city attorney. Is there any discussion from the council? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is from the Planning Commission meeting of October 21st, 2019. Item number 1 is to consider ordinance number 3001Z09-1910, rezoning from agricultural to residential suburban for Campbell Family Estates located at 6120 Clare Road. The Planning Commission recommended 8-0. Governing body approved the rezoning subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, and ordinance is required. Recommended actions consider passing ordinance number 3001. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next items on the agenda is staff items. Item number 1 is consider contract number 2019-092 relocation agreement with Southern Star Pipeline related to Monticello Road reconstruction project number 3489. This project is currently on the capital improvement program. In order to begin construction, a Southern Star gas pipeline must be relocated for an upfront cost of $778,092. Relocation agreement is required. Recommended actions consider approving and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract as approved by the city attorney. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Mr. Neighbor.
Having been through things with Southern Star Gas before, and I think Mr. Sandifer with, why do they insist it has to be upfront? Why can't it be a split cost or something like that?
Paul Lindstrom, Senior Project Engineer. Simply it's their policy. They set the policy that they only answer to the federal government, and their policy is to get all of the money up front so that if the city decides to cancel the project, they will get their expenditures that they've spent up to date.
It seems to me that, number one, we have apparently no voice in this. And any clawbacks, any timelines, anything there. So if they're going to do it, it seems like they better do it and according to the schedule and not lollygag around like some other people have and make sure it's done. So it seems like we need to have a voice in this somewhere. And again, I'm not going to be here when this happens, but I've dealt with these people before and been on the council, and they are sometimes very challenging to deal with, and it seems like we need to have some sort of voice in this so that they do their best to meet our schedule so we can get it done in a timely manner, not at their whim.
And their contract does state that all work will be done by October 1st of 2020. So that is stated in the agreement.
Councilmember Sandifer and then Councilmember Zimmerman.
Didn't we have a contract similar to that when we had the project going before?
Very, very identical, yes.
And we had to pay upfront, and they actually took them about a year and a half longer than what it was expected to take, and we ended up
There was
putting the
some
project off
delays.
because we didn't.
There were some delays with that agreement, that's correct.
Right.
Yes.
What's Southern Star is saying, and now they're going to come in and try to finish this. Do we have any kind of anything to protect the city on if they decide that they want to put it off again like they did before at this round?
I know Alice has been involved with this as much as I have. The intent, the upfront cost is that we will be paying for any expenditures that will, if we decide to quit the project, we would then, they would have those expenditures already paid for, and they would reimburse us the rest of that upfront cost.
Granted, now what if they go over time? Is there any kind of a financial gain that we'll get that would give them an incentive to stay on within the clock?
That is not part of the agreement.
Because other than that, they can go over and it doesn't matter, just like they did before for a year and a half. And there isn't anything we can do. Correct?
As far as I know, we did not suggest any language in there for time other than what's the October 1st date. Our city attorney might.
Mayor, if I can comment real quick, they also, we tried this several years ago and asked for that kind of provision, and they would not accept it, and they would not consider it, and they didn't even acknowledge that we made the request, if I remember correctly. So they will not agree to the language, and they are relocating from a private easement in a substantial portion of this project. So we have no means of forcing them to agree to this contract language. It's not a level playing field. The other thing, Paul may remember more so than I, they also, if we did not pay the cost up front, they were proposing to charge us an additional fee for contribution on capital or something to that effect. And it was
We do have
pretty-
representatives from Southern Star tonight if you have specific questions for them.
it was a pretty significant cost.
Councilmember Zimmerman.
Mike, you want to come up? Don't mean to put you on the spot, but.
I'm Mike DeGrave with Southern Star. What we've got going on here, it's a 70-30% or 70-30 split on the reimbursement cost. So the city's paying 70% of it, Southern Star is paying 30. We're asking for the upfront reimbursement for the non-construction cost. So it allows us to do the engineering design work, surveying, and the land acquisition before we go to construction. So the way it's set up now, we'll get the drawings done. We'll come back in the spring, we'll bid the project out for construction cost, and then we'll come back to the city wanting the 70% of that cost. So it's not all the money up front. It's similar to what we did a few years ago with you guys. The only difference is we got the upfront construction costs from you last year, or 2008 timeframe. This time we're not. We've left that off. Paul had asked for that, and so we're allowing that.
What do we have to protect us about with you guys going like over the clock?
Well, like Paul mentioned, we've got in there to get it done by October. And so we've already started the design work. We've got the survey done. We've got preliminary drawings. We started.
Dates like that before. I'm not trying to pick on them. I'm just saying.
I don't remember what you're talking about.
When
We went a year and a half over. Well, 08, we started that one. We had delays doing the agreement. And then the agreement got signed and you guys canceled the project or postponed it. And so we never got into the point of doing design work on it.
But I know we waited on you for quite some time.
Well, we did a lot.
Plans or whatever it was that we were getting done. I remember because we kept hearing that it was Southern Star that was putting this up. That's what I was saying.
If I remember right, that was a long time ago, of course, but we did have some problems getting the agreement together, but at the last, I guess 2008 is when we finally got the agreement together. So you're right, we did work on that agreement for over a year. That's correct.
And I will add, excuse me, on the 2008 agreement, we spent about $68,000 up front on that project, and the management of Southern Star agreed to waive that cost, and we ate it. You know, that was part of the agreement where we should have gotten reimbursed for it, but they acknowledged that there were some delays, and we paid for that cost. So we're just asking for the money up front, so we don't have to finance the project, basically.
Councilmember Zimmerman and then Councilmember Constance.
So I want to make sure, I think what I heard from Ellis just a minute ago is we don't have a mechanism to put liquidated damages into this contract narrative. $2,500 a day, $5,000 a day, something like that for missing a deadline. Is that what I heard earlier?
Other than asking for that provision to be placed in the contract, Southern Star has not agreed to that. I'm not aware that, I've seen a number of contracts that you've probably worked on in Overland Park and Lenexa and other locations, and I've never seen Southern Star agree to that provision. So in all fairness, when they tell us no, I'm not aware of any place that they have ever agreed to do that.
All right. Fair enough. So a question then for Southern Star. You said 30% of this is going to be bid out.
Southern Star pays 30% of the cost.
Right. You said something about you're going to do design work and then you're going to bid out have you ever in your contracts put liquidated damages as a part of your contract when you bid that work?
We have.
In other words, I'm curious, part of this is getting your own subcontractors or your own contractors to get the job done on time. If you won't accept liquidated damages from us, would you be willing to put them in your contract to the people that bid your work?
Well, we've done it probably in the time I've been with the company less than 10 times. And I've been with the company for 28 years.
Right.
And so, on this one here, we've gotten really ahead of schedule on this project. Paul came to us before and the city did back in the summertime and said, hey, this is back on. We acknowledged, we've got an obligation to relocate the pipeline. So we've moved forward with the design work. The whole intention is for us to have the drawings done by the end of the year so we can start land negotiations in January, do construction in June, July, and be well ahead of schedule for October. So I don't see any issues in our way of not getting the work done on time. That's why it's important to get this thing, agreed to now and approved so we move forward.
All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Constance.
I'm not sure if this is a question for Southern Star or maybe Nolan, but where are we with communicating these with the neighbors so they have an opportunity to ask questions about the impact on their property?
Yeah, so I can let Paul or Doug jump in, but we approved the contract with HNTB to kind of start or I shouldn't say start, to kind of brush off the design that was approved last time. And so basically they'll be reviewing that design work, and then we will hold a kind of a neighborhood meeting, and then it will come back to council committee. And I think we have that kind of roughly kind of scheduled maybe for March or April, I believe, for council committee to come back to you. And then we'll go to council meeting to then kind of begin the full.
So first of the year, it would be when the neighbors would get an opportunity, neighborhood meeting sometime
Yeah.
before that March.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, specifically, I want to make sure everybody's aware that Southern Star has contacted all the owners out there that are being affected by the project. So that has already been done. Correct?
That's correct. We've notified them for surveying work that we did about 3 months ago, so they knew we were on their property surveying. Our land representative has been meeting with them in the last week to show the preliminary drawings to them and to get their feedback on the route. So.
Any other discussion from the council? Thank you. Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? Accept a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 2 is to consider bids and award contract number 2019-093 for the 2019 Stream Bank Stabilization Project number 3492. 5 bids were received on November 5th, 2019. Staff recommends awarding the contract to Wiedemann, Inc. for a total cost of $196,296. Recommended actions to consider approving and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract as approved by the city attorney. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? Accept a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 3 is to consider approving final plans authorizing staff to bid the 2020 stormwater pipe repair project number 3491. Final plans are complete. Total estimated cost is approximately $1,300,000 included in the 2020 budget in the stormwater utility fund in the 2019 stormwater pipe repair bond. Recommended actions, consider approving final plans, authorizing staff to bid the project. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Mr. Zimmerman?
Just one question. It doesn't really pertain necessarily to this one, but in light of the issues we've been discussing on multiple projects, I think I would encourage the staff to start including provisions for liquidated damages, or at least considering them in some of these projects going forward. I don't think that pertains necessarily to this one unless we want to discuss it more amongst the council, but I think we need to start looking at that.
We actually have them in all of our project agreements. I said all, we do not with Southern Star, but with all of our CIP projects and our other projects, every one that I've looked at has always had a liquidated damages provision in it.
What are those damages?
So they're based on the KDOT standards that it's been published out there. It's based purely on the price of the project. Oh, sorry. I'm Cynthia Muller-Crest, Stormwater Manager for City of Shawnee. It's based purely on the valuation of the contract. So it's a sliding scale. So if it's a smaller project, it might be $200 a day. If it's a larger project, it goes up to $1,500 a day. And we also have these based on what would be actual damages that we have to incur. So we can't just willy-nilly decide that this is the number. We do usually end up with costs such as additional inspection costs, delays of roads being open, some actual physical damages.
Okay. Does those physical damages include complaints coming from the constituents? That was a joke.
No, it's not.
Although I do want to point out on our smaller projects that are not over 50,000, not bid, we do not necessarily have those LDs.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 4 is to consider approving final plans authorizing staff to bid the Jim Allen Aquatic Center Filtration System Replacement Project. On October 28, 2019, governing body authorized the purchase of the equipment for this project. Final plans are complete. Staff is ready to bid the project to select a contractor to install the equipment. Recommended action is consider approving the final plans authorizing the staff to bid the project. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is miscellaneous council items. Miscellaneous items. Item number 1 is to ratify the semi-monthly claim for November 12, 2019 in the amount of $1,773,326.32. Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? I'll accept a motion.
So
Move to
moved.
approve.
Motion's been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 2 is miscellaneous council items. Does anyone on the council have an item they would like to discuss? Miss Lisa, Councilman Larson Bennell.
You can call me Lisa. Going back to Mr. Jenkins' comments about our habit of canceling the last meeting of the year, I would like to put a motion out that we no longer have a meeting the second Monday in November. From here. Yep, that's what I meant. Thank you. Thank you, of December, at least to discuss that.
Well, it's fair for discussion because, pretty much every year I've been here, we have done that. We've canceled that last meeting, so it seems kind of crazy that we would have it in there if we were going to cancel it. Everybody's going on record saying, oh, yeah, well, we had a schedule for a year. Well, yeah, we had a whole schedule for a year too, which is kind of one of the points I was making on that. But, yeah, I'd endorse doing that.
Stephen?
So, sorry, it's, we would need to bring back an ordinance to the council because currently our meeting dates are codified in the Shawnee Municipal Code. So, just procedurally.
Okay, any other items? If there are no other items, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Hang on,
Do we-
hang on, sorry.
We need to go
Yeah,
into
but we have
executive.
to adjourn this one first, don't we?
No,
No?
no, so we go into executive session and then we'll come back and leave this meeting.
Okay, a
open. So,
motion to go back into executive session.
Period of time.
How long?
15 minutes.
I think the council probably knows the answer to that question better than no one and I do.
So
15?
15 minutes.
And I would say 30,
Oh, hang on.
She
So-
says 30.
because I know this council. You don't have to take the whole time, but if we,
Well, yeah, actually you do, because
Yeah,
you
we do.
can't come back early. You can't come back
okay,
early.
well then I rescind that motion.
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
20.
We will do executive session for 20 minutes.
And the motion has to include the statement that it's for the purpose of receiving an attorney-client. Of those communications.
And that the meeting will adjourn, will come back in here to reconvene.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Executive session.
Make haste, young man.
Made that motion. Lisa.
Accept the certificate.
Send it in this format.
Oh, you were shutting down. I was gonna try something.
You're gonna unshut it down?
Jaden, are you gonna stay on
in there?
Yeah. I'm gonna.
Something going on in there, that's the one I had repaired.
Take a right and head.
It's acting up, I don't know what's going on, I got, might be, might just be temp-
We got enough?
Motion to reconvene?
Second?
Motion's been made.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
20 minutes?
20 minutes?
Motion to recess to executive session for 20 minutes.
Second?
Just purpose. 20 minutes. What Ellis said. Aye.
Opposed, nay. First, I need a motion to reconvene the meeting. Yep.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to reconvene. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. No other items. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.